An Azeri journalist fears for his life, and biased reporting from Al Jazeera. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sovereign Artsakh, where I, a non-Armenian, basically allot a segment of my time to give recognition to the nation of Artsakh. That's the only thing that's going to solve the problems that actually could lead to World War III, but let's not let that happen. That's why I'm doing this, to help spread the word that the small nation of Artsakh needs to be recognized by the United States and by the rest of the world. A lot of things I want to cover. I'm only doing this one video per day. So what I was going to talk about, again, I've been having to cover a lot of things. I was going to talk about globalization. I'll talk about that briefly, but what I really want to focus on is this article from this journalist who I think is intentionally lying or catering or biasing intentionally this article in particular because he fears for his life. But then I want to wrap up with this video, which if you haven't seen this by now, if this is the first time you've seen this video, this 4-frame surveillance camera, I expect you're going to see a lot more of it, and we'll cover that at the very end. But starting off, I'm going to go over this real quick. I was going to just focus on globalization. If the American president ends up being Joe Biden on January 20th, then look forward to globalization 4.0, or as it says here, fourth industrial revolution. The United States of America is the most powerful nation in the world. Oh, by the way, subscribe to this channel and share these videos, and comment in the comment section, or click like or dislike, whichever you want. I have some Azeris and Turks who like to click the dislike button, which is fine, as long as you're active on this channel. And your attention is drawn toward me. That's good. That's good. We want to spread the word, whether it's the friends or the enemies of this subject matter. The discussion needs to be held, and that's why I'm doing this. All right. So globalization is a bad thing. United States of America is the greatest nation, the most powerful nation that's ever existed in history. But that is, it's a bad thing for anybody who does not believe in America, or people that hate America, the enemies of America, such as China, or certain militant states that don't believe in democracy and in our way of life, that believe we are, okay, we're not perfect, and we do bad things, and the United States is guilty of lots of crimes. I've had a comment on a recent video that says, oh, and the United States isn't trying to dominate the world. Militarism is bad wherever it comes from, and whether it's the Ottoman Empire massacring 1.5 million Armenians, that's militarism. Whether it's Nazi Germany massacring Jews, that's militarism. Whether it's United States exerting their force without justification around the world. And this president of all presidents has done less of that in the last 4 or 5 decades. Okay, so if you believe the United States should not be exerting our influence militarily, then you should want Donald Trump to remain president. That's not really what I wanted to talk about here, but globalization is the enemy of America. America being generally a benevolent power, globalization means that everybody in the world should be treated equally, even governments that don't treat their people with the respect and dignity that they should be. All humans, as this is an American principle, we are all created equal. Right? Created equal. Doesn't mean we all end up at the same place, but we have equal opportunity. We have the same rights. You know, men and women in the United States of America are treated equally as citizens, and that's not so in, say, Islamicized nations where women are second-class citizens. That's just an example. And globalization opens the door for, say, communism, communist China, to exert its influence, a malevolent influence. So I just want to cover that briefly. This is there's a global research website where this guy talks about the dangers of the coming Great Reset. One of the goals is to own nothing and be happy. In other words, capitalism is evil according to globalism, according to the Great Reset. Capitalism is evil, so we must eliminate it and then an elite group will run the world, and everybody else will be suppressed and oppressed and told what they can and cannot do by some nameless overlords, the nameless overseers of this global reset. So there will be this elite political class, and everybody else will be under surveillance and control through the surveillance state. That's the goal. I mean, read it for yourself. All right. On to Al Jazeera real quick. And I'm going to read a good chunk of this article. I've been quoting a lot or reading a lot from this website, Armin Press, because it's just, again, they don't do a lot of editorialization. They just report what's going on, in particular in Armenia and Artsakh and Azerbaijan and Turkey, what's going on in this hot spot on the other side of the world. So I've used Al Jazeera, and I just wanted to look up what's going on, what the latest headlines are from Al Jazeera. And so this isn't very current. It's about a week old, but I saw this headline: Can President Aliyev be trusted on Nagorno-Karabakh? Now, first of all, President Aliyev it's kind of a joke. I mean, they purport to be a democracy. This guy is a dictator, right? President. I suppose they have some kind of elections, quote unquote elections there, but this guy's family has run the country for decades. He's I think the wealthiest world leader, or one of the wealthiest world leaders around. He's just got a grip. Look at that fist, a grip on the oil reserves that they discovered in Azerbaijan a decade or so ago. They just started making money hand over fist. And so, but this author, let me read this. This is going to be a super long video if I don't get to it. On November 10th, a peace deal was signed between Armenia and Azerbaijan to end the fighting over Nagorno-Karabakh region. Although there were accusations on both sides of ethnic cleansing, such mass violence did not take place. The exodus of Armenians, which some envisioned as also, did not happen. After the deal was signed, Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev, for his part, called for peaceful coexistence between Armenians and Azerbaijanis. But given his questionable democratic credentials, many have doubted his intentions. Here's the author. I can understand this. In 2009, I was imprisoned for more than 2 years for what I believed was merely helping a friend put together a satirical film, which the authorities deemed an act of hooliganism. Okay, I got to stop right here. So he's talking about some kind of, given his questionable democratic credentials, that's Aliyev, being thrown in prison. I was imprisoned for more than 2 years for helping put a video together, a satirical film, because it was hooliganism. Going to jail, this is not a free society. If you cannot put together a video that somehow challenges the government, we don't do that in free societies. All right, so this right here, I think, is why this guy's writing this article the way he is. He's fearing for his life. He's already been imprisoned, so he's certainly going to slant his perspective to be favorable so that he doesn't go to jail again. Clearly, this is an administration with which I have profound disagreements. Yet on the question of Nagorno-Karabakh and the reassertion of Azerbaijani sovereignty over its territory, I find myself for once in total agreement with it, as do Azerbaijani opposition parties, civil society, and indeed the population at large. Yeah, everyone's in agreement. Nobody in Azerbaijan craves a deluge of reprisals against the ethnic Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh. Hold it. Nobody in Azerbaijan craves a deluge of reprisals. People in Azerbaijan do not want Armenians living on that land. They're not happy about this. They've called for France to be ejected from the Minsk group because France is calling for sovereignty of Artsakh. France is calling for independence, for statehood for Artsakh. So I think you're wrong that nobody in Azerbaijan wants their reprisals against the ethnic Armenians. How governments deal with political dissidents is different than how they treat minorities. The violation of civil rights in a country is not the same as the systematic persecution of a group on the basis of ethnicity and religion. All right, civil rights. Civil rights is not a concept that even exists in Azerbaijan. Like, this is a dictatorship. It's an authoritarian, totalitarian rulership. Civil rights means each individual has rights. Using terminology like this is clearly catering to the West, trying to cover for what's really going on. Modern-day Azerbaijan demonstrates this. Democratic hurdles aside, the nation is multicultural. All, whether Muslim, Jewish, or Christian, are equal in rights and dignity, including the 30,000 Armenians who call Azerbaijani regions outside of Nagorno-Karabakh home. All right, 30,000 Armenians. There are 10 million people in Azerbaijan. 30,000 isn't even 10% of that population. It isn't even 1% of that population. In fact, it's 0.03%. Right? That is a tiny, tiny minority. Compared to what it was before 1915, the Armenian genocide, there were hundreds of thousands of Armenians living in this region. This was a place that was traditionally Armenia, a big section, at least half of Azerbaijan was traditionally Armenia. And now a mere 0.03% of the population is Armenian. That historically should tell you what the true attitude is towards Armenians in this part of the world. This is not a matter of democracy, but of peaceful coexistence. The latter, peaceful coexistence, is by no means contingent on the former, democracy. In fact, recent history has provided us with many examples where democracies have failed to prevent racist violence and ethnic cleansing. So this guy's appealing to the spotty record of democracies around the world. See, even the United States has a problem with racism and ethnic cleansing. This guy is saying that peaceful coexistence does not depend on democracy. And I suppose he's right in one regard, that if you're just living, if you're not actively violent against your neighbors, you could call that peaceful coexistence. Just as Sultan Abdul Hamid II, who was the Sultan over the Ottoman Empire for about 40 plus years, and for 30 or about 25 of those years, there was a relative peaceful coexistence. And then they decided to massacre Armenians. And this was before the Armenian genocide. 200,000 Armenians were massacred. So peaceful coexistence is an illusion. All right, I don't want to read all of this, but let me just read the very end. This guy's fearing for his life. Look at this. Peaceful coexistence between Armenians and Azerbaijanis has always been possible. We only need to look at the time before the 1990s war for proof. It is clear that President Aliyev is trusted by his own people to deliver his promise of liberation and peaceful coexistence. Should the rest of the world trust him too? His actions should speak for themselves. Yes, his actions about attacking Artsakh. All right, those are his actions. He attacked. He is complicit. He is colluding with Turks and terrorists from Syria to attack innocent, peace-loving people. So his actions should speak for themselves. Maybe that's his out. It's like, look at his actions. Before the 1990s war, it was run by the Soviet Union. Azerbaijan was a subject state. Azerbaijan and Armenia were both subjects of the Soviet state. So to count the time before the 90s war as an example of peaceful coexistence is a false association. It was the Soviets who were in control of this region. Soviet states can't fight with each other while they're subject to a greater state. So this author is fearing for his life. He's trying to cover his butt. Now, real quickly, and to wrap this up, I want to just talk about another article that I stumbled across in Al Jazeera. And this is from, I don't know, also a couple days ago. Trump releases video repeating debunked election fraud claims. Right there in the headline, there's bias. Debunked, right? Trump releases video repeating debunked election fraud claims. Just going to read a little bit of this. President Donald Trump delivered his lengthiest call to overturn the United States election results Wednesday, repeating a litany of debunked conspiracy theories as reasons to deny President-elect Joe Biden a victory. All right, let me point out a few problems of bias just in this line. Repeating a litany of debunked conspiracy theories. All right, so we've had like 3 weeks since the election. Debunking, he doesn't even, I've read this article, he does not even detail what the heck he's talking about, what's been debunked. He refers to court cases that have been thrown out. That's not debunking. There's been numerous cases filed, and for one reason or another, they're thrown out. That doesn't debunk the allegations. A trial can be thrown out on a technicality or a contingency. Doesn't mean everything that was asserted in that case is false or has been debunked. And certainly there hasn't been time to even do an investigation to debunk. So the word debunk and conspiracy theory, they're just parroting what a slanted mass media in the United States is saying. So, and then the phrase President-elect Joe Biden is technically inaccurate because he's not president-elect until the electors vote and the vote is certified, or until Trump concedes. Like if Trump were to concede, you could legitimately call Joe Biden president-elect, but there is no president-elect until those things happen. During a 36-minute speech from the White House posted to Facebook, Trump insisted on challenging what he says is pervasive fraud surrounding the election, calling it a national disgrace and accusing Democrats of stealing the election. I want to read one last thing. Oh, right here. Trump's own U.S. Attorney General William Barr said after asking the Justice Department and the FBI to look into fraud claims that fraud does not exist, quote, on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election. Here again is false reporting. William Barr did say the words on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election, but he did not say that fraud does not exist. What he said is, as of yet, or to date. He said, to date, I have not seen evidence of fraud on a scale that could have affected the different. He didn't say he didn't see fraud. He said, as of yet, which means they are investigating, and that time could come. And maybe even by now, after he said it, he has seen it on that scale. And I want to just end with this, again, this video. This just came out. Again, if you haven't seen this and this is the first time, you're probably going to see a lot more of this because this is a smoking gun right here. Let me just play this video. All right, so watch this woman in purple, and there's another person right here. Boom. She pulled something out from underneath this table. What does that mean? All right, and this thing is a box or a suitcase. Oh, there's another one. So there's at least two. What this is a polling place, or not, a voting center. Oh, and another one. Look at that. These are boxes full of ballots. This is after the shutdown in Georgia, where they stopped counting and they kicked all the observers out. And they pull out, I think, 4 boxes of roughly 6,000 votes out from under this table. It's been sitting there. I've watched this video. It's been sitting there unattended the whole time. There are other people in this room. And as soon as all those people were out, and there's been a filed affidavit saying we were told that vote counting was stopping at 10 or 10:30 p.m. and would resume at 8:30 the next morning. As soon as the rest of those people were out of the room, these people pulled out boxes of ballots, approximately 24,000 ballots in Georgia, started counting them. All right, this is the smoking gun for election fraud in the state of Georgia. This is hard evidence. There's plenty of people saying, no, this has been debunked. No, this just came out. This is irrefutable. This is hard evidence and could be the most damning evidence that delegitimizes the Georgia election. That's one state out of about 6 that are being challenged. And so I'm just going to wrap this up. So this is a very long video. If you've made it to this far, I'm trying to cover a lot of different things, but subscribe and share.